My name's Yolanda Nuhi. They called me Yoli, and I was down in the waterfront for 30 years when I retired. I started in 1985. I retired in 2014. So I've been retired for about 10, 11 years, and I love it.
Loving life. Loving life.
Yes, I do.
So how did you get started down at the waterfront, Yoli?
Well, it was funny because my husband had been laid off from his job, so he was getting casual work through the unemployment office. Then when they said they were going to start giving out casual cards, especially to women, a lot of our friends were saying, Yoli, go down there and get it. Go down and get it. And I go, no, I've lived in Wilmington all my life. I know about those longshoremen. I don't want to be down there. So anyways, we both went ahead and we got an application. And at this time, it wasn't for casual. It was straight into an ID. So I was never a casual.
Oh, lucky
So in
you.
1985 is when we were registered. And my registered number is 35701.
Okay. What made you change your mind? You said you knew about what it was like down there. What made you say, like, I'm actually gonna do it?
Well, it's funny because at first when they called me, well, first let's go back a little bit. At first they were denying spouses from coming in. So my husband went ahead, got registered in 85, January of 85, and they held me back. And then they went to court on this and they said, okay, that wasn't fair. You have to let the ladies come in, spouses. So there were about 150. 50 went to marine clerks, and the other 100 went to longshoring. So then at first he said, oh, I don't want you down there. So I said, well, okay, because my marriage was more important. But then guys working with him said, you dummy, let your wife try. If she doesn't like it, she can always get out, but she won't be able to have another chance. So he said, go ahead, and I went ahead and I picked it up, and I'm so thankful,
Wow.
Because later on, I'm going to cry, I'm sorry about that. He passed away, and I was able to provide for my family.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first job on the waterfront?
Oh, I think everybody remembers the first job. Scared to death. I had a banana job. And I'd never even been on a ship. I'd never even been down in the hole of a ship. And so I did go down there. And my husband did take a job on that same banana ship, but they separated us. So he went to another hatch and I went to one. But the men there, they really did help me. They were very nice. Some men were nice and some weren't nice. But that was my first job, bananas. And I thought, I did it all the time that it was like, okay, now I'm comfortable with doing this. I don't think I want to move. But then sometimes I'd look across the bay and see these trucks, the UTR trucks driving around, and I thought, no, I think I want to try that. And eventually that's what I did too. But not only did I do the UTRs, I learned how to drive the top handler. And at that time, they didn't have schools for top handlers. It was on-the-job training. My boss at that time, I went to APL all the time, and he said, would you like to learn how to drive a top handler? I said, sure. So he put me with one of the steadies for half a day. The next day, he put me with another steady for half a day. And oh, my God, the third day, he says, you've got it. I go, oh, God, did I pray a lot?
You're like, I do? Are you sure?
But I'm thankful for him. Al Smith was his name at APL, dock work. And from there on, later on, after I did my time on the hole, he did hire me. So then from there, then you learn the side handlers, then you learn the heavy lift machinery, and that's mostly what I did. Yeah.
Okay. When you were in the hold, I'm just going to go back slightly. When you were in hold for the bananas, I just learned, were you part of taking off the hatch? Because I heard it was like a laborious job at that time, right, Dad? You had to take off the boards and stuff?
No. That
was way before?
That was way before.
Okay.
When we had to take off the hatch covers.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that was a little bit before you got in, but no. The banana job, you want to explain that to?
Yeah, the banana at the time I got into it was in boxes. They were 40-pound boxes of bananas. They weren't the stalks like back in the day. They were boxes. And they had a big conveyor belt that went all the way down to the bottom hatch, which was like 4 decks down. So it went all the way down. It had pockets in them. So as the conveyor belt would go around like that, up and down, we had a person in the front who would throw the box in the pockets, so that it goes out. And then in the background, we had other people that were putting them on a conveyor belt that would go down to the guy that would throw them in the box. So that's what we did. And I was comfortable just putting them on the conveyor belt. And then one day the guy said, go to the front. I go, are you sure? So I learned a lot, and I learned quick, you know.
You did all the jobs down there.
Well,
like on that banana boat job?
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah. So.
Was Vivas like totally proud of you that first day? Because you got separated, which
Yeah,
he
we
was
did.
probably like, oh my gosh, I hope she's okay.
Yeah, I guess he was okay with it. Yeah, he was okay. That wasn't his specialty either, but he was in the gang later on. So he did gang ship work, and then he did the gang dock work as he got older. It was dock.
Yeah.
And I went on to my specialties, you know, it was the top handlers, side handlers, heavy lifts. I went on to that.
Right. Well, now Yoli's talking about the bananas. They would go, you throw the bananas in a conveyor belt. They call the guy he would toss them there, but then they had gravities. They call them gravities. They're rollers. You see them in the supermarkets now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you just attach them as you're going deep in the hatch. You just attach them, and then you got 1 or 2, maybe 4 guys in there, and you're feeding them, and then the one guy's feeding the belt. And you take turns. You take turns. Feeding the belt, you know, it's pretty hard.
Yeah, because you said they're about 40 pounds.
Yeah.
So are you just like lifting and then
Yes.
twisting and putting them in there? Oh, wow.
And then as that conveyor belt's coming down, if you're down in the bottom, you would leave some pockets open, because then the other hatches the decks had to put their boxes in there too. So if you miss the pocket, if you're way down in the bottom of the ship, if you miss a pocket, it's okay, because the other decks had to be able to have room to throw theirs in too.
So
yeah.
there, people are working multiple decks at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't picture that.
Yeah. They'll tell you hit every other pocket.
Yeah.
Or, you know, let 3 go and then hit the pocket. They'll tell you.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. That's wow.
And then they come off the ship, Yoli, if I can add. They come off the ship, and then you have longshoremen, and they're feeding the teamsters, feeding the trucks. They'd come down there, and then they throw the bananas into the teamsters' trucks. The teamsters would be loading there.
So everything was just just a well-oiled machine down there. Yeah.
Well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And then now I just spoke to Becky, your daughter, and she drives tops. So it's like, and does Mahina drive tops as well?
My son does too. Yeah.
They're both, let me say, they're both good drivers. I remember Becky came to NYK when she first got there. She goes, Eddie, I'm scared. I go, Mia, don't be scared. Just relax and take your time. She did a great job. She's really a good one now. And Mahina, he always goes to Hanjin. He's on the rails there. He's steady there. He does a great job too.
Oh, the rails, I would not want to be a top handler on the rails, because it's constant just moving. I'd be like, can I go to the restroom?
Yeah.
Get everybody upset that we have to take a break.
You taught him well. You and Vivas taught him well.
And then I have another daughter, an older daughter, Inez, and she works down there. She works nights, but she likes the front. She just works the front on a ship that comes in. Under the crane.
I've worked with her at ITS a few times.
Okay.
I don't think that's her spot where she usually goes, but I've worked with her down there at ITS. She was either dock signal or swing down there. So it's always exciting when, I've known your family for a long time. As I was 12 years old, probably maybe younger, when Sarah and I played softball. So it's just like when I see Mahina, it just feels like family down there. It's like really exciting to see them.
Yeah.
Okay, so then just going on in your career as a longshoreman, were there jobs that you really like? Was there something else that you really liked when you were in 13?
It was mostly the UTRs and the machineries. Yeah, I knew I didn't have the capabilities of doing the lashing with the bars. And I did take it a few times, and mostly the men would tell me, don't worry about hanging them up, because we never really had training for that at the time I came in. They have now, but not now. So they would tell me, just take the buckles and go put them away. So I did that. But you know what? I was always afraid that I didn't want to hurt anybody. So if that job ever came around to me, I would just pass it. And I think I was fortunate enough that I had my husband, that he could work and I can go home.
Did you work together a lot, you and Vivas?
Not really. Maybe after when I became a clerk, and then he became a clerk, and then I was his boss. He didn't care. He always said, your money's my money, and my money's your money.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
How about as a woman? So you said you got it in 1985, and I think, Dad, you said 1977?
75, Billy Padilla got it in
yes.
75 as the first COD, the first woman down there. And then in 78 and 79, I know Nancy Udavac, who we're going to have in the program, she got in at that time. But before then, there was a few other, another one, her name was Elena. And then there was a couple other women that got it, but Billy was the first one.
Stella Subran was one, too, with Joey.
Yes.
Yeah, they were in there before I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were in the first 10 years of a woman being down there. You said some men were not so nice and some were nice. What was your general feeling as a woman down there?
Well, you know what? If I respected the men, they respected me. You know, and if they used a cuss word, they'd say, oh, sorry. And I said, you know what? It's all right. This is your world, really, you know. So, as I found that if I respect them, they respect me. And ask questions. If you didn't ask questions and you did it wrong, oh, God, no, you better ask questions because then they get mad.
Yeah, I know. I get nervous sometimes when I'm on the radio. I'm like, oh, gosh, I don't know what to do. And I'm like just sitting there and like, I got to get on the radio and say something. And you really don't have a choice but to ask. Otherwise, you can miss up production. It could really be a big deal. So you definitely should ask if you have a problem.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I don't think any guy down there would argue with Yoli once she found out that Beavis was her husband, right?
But you know what? Years went by before finally people put two and two together to know that we were spouses.
Okay.
Because I remember we went into Kmart, the old Kmart one time, and somebody was coming out. We knew we said hi. And then later on, they're asking somebody, are they a couple? So it took a while for people, because afterwards, I kind of went my way to do my jobs, and he went his way to do his job, you know. And when we went to our meetings, we drove together, but then again, I checked in on myself. He would never check me, and I had to do that myself. So, and I would go with my friends, and he would go with his friends. So it took a while for people to realize, oh, you two are together.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're saying Beavis is pretty tough.
Oh, yeah. I've got stories on Beavis. Well, he was,
softball ones, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We won't go there. We won't go there. But he was one.
You don't mess. He commanded respect.
Oh, commanded respect, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, he was really a gentle guy, you know, but don't rile him up.
No.
So what year did you go to 63?
I think it was 1995, I went to 63.
Oh, okay.
And from there on, you did all the various jobs that you had to do. And then I ended up going steady at one company. And then later on, I became a chief supervisor. So then I was chief supervisor for the gates and the tower over at NYK. I was there for a long time, too.
Can you tell me about that? What's the role of a chief supervisor?
Okay, well, we mostly did the payroll.
Okay.
And if they had any questions about how to do something or what, they would ask me and I would help them with it. But we did, when the truckers would come in for their loads, we would help them up in the tower. We'd be talking to them through speakers. And we asked them, the container number they want and their company. And by the time we printed a ticket out for them and they received it where they were, it would tell them where to go to pick it up.
Okay, and then they pick it. It's parked it's a chassis that's parked in the yard.
Either that or in the transtainer row, it's decked. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
One or the other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's still that's still the same process now, I think.
I think it is, except that now they've converted it where the trucking companies on their rear view or their side mirrors, they have this RDIF, I think it's called, that it's going, when the trucker passes by a certain thing, it already knows where the container is. And, we fought that for a long time, but somehow we lost that. So now they just get the paperwork from the clerks, but it already knows where they're going, Yeah.
Automation.
Yeah, automation.
Yeah,
Do you remember what year when that kind of started?
No, I don't remember. Yeah.
We were talking about that yesterday. The automations things change. Yeah, things change.
Yeah.
And we think that they're wanting to train longshoremen to be more toward mechanics to work on the machines, which would be great. They're still down there working, but takes some responsibilities away from longshoremen for sure.
Yeah. Yola, did you ever have any ambition to be a foreman or put an application?
Not
for?
at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Right.
No.
You were just happy?
I was happy where I was.
Well, chief supervisor, that's
Yeah,
big
it's like a boss
responsibility.
too. It's like a boss. Yeah.
Because I did it at Yang Ming for 10, 12 years, almost 13 years I was a
okay.
chief there.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you did.
Because you have your chief for the yard, you have your chief planner, you have your chief tower, you know, so there's all different categories of chiefs.
Right. When I got there, I was the first chief at Yang Ming, and I was in charge of the tower and the yard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I would pass out radios. I'd pass out trucks.
That's a lot.
We did everything at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know how we lost it. We lost, you know, they just management does a lot of that stuff that I used to do when I first started there. So we got to try to keep that.
Yeah, we do.
Do you have any other stories of your life on the waterfront before we get into your life as a retiree?
No, I guess not. I kind of told you the equipment I used and worked with. And it was funny because when I was at APL and I was doing the top handler, I had men who would come to me and say, "Can you teach me how to do that?" So I'd say, "Sure, you know, somebody taught me, well, you pass it on to somebody else. Sure, come on and I'll show you how to do it."
It's a good longshoreman way.
And that was how we did it before they started having training, you know, for this.
That's incredible that you learned on the job in just
Oh,
3
yeah.
days.
Oh, yeah.
What was it the same type of job that it is now? Like with the 40-foot containers,
Yeah.
like the whole process is.
Yeah, because what we did sometimes we would deliver to the truck drivers. You know, so we would get the container and put it on the truck driver's chassis. Another time it'd be maybe doing empties from the pile that there was in the transtainer rows, but the transtainer rows, they were empty, so they weren't going to move them. So the top handler would move them, or the side handler would move them. Yeah. Oh, I know. I used to have to do, because I was low man on the totem pole of being steady there as a longshoreman. Every time it rained and we had to stack chassis, they always put me on it. And the heavy lift I had no cab. So you really got wet. You had to use your rein. And then when I learned how to drive the top handler, it was Big Red. You sat on the side and you watched your beam going up and down this way. You weren't right on top of it where you could see. You know, we got one of those machines later on, which I thought, wow, look at how easy this one is. I'm right in the middle of it.
Right.
But yeah, when I learned, we were on the side.
Wow. That's funny because sometimes I'm like, "Ugh, when my UTR doesn't have a heater or an AC, you didn't even have a
I
roof
didn't
to
have a roof on my,
cover you."
no.
Better have good rain gear, right?
Oh,
Yola?
yeah. That's the number one thing I told my kids. You get good rain gear and you'll be all right in the rain.
Right.
Yeah.
Luckily, it doesn't rain here as much as up in San Francisco or the northern ports.
And the snow on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it kind of
Right.
made as far as the weather goes
Oh,
down
yeah.
here.
Yola, so you were a longshoreman for 10 years and then a clerk for the next
20.
20 years.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I retired with 30 years under my belt. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It is.
Nice.
Yeah, so how was that decision to retire? Because this guy's still he's still hanging in there.
I'm still working.
Well,
he's
I
still
tell
working.
people, you know when you're ready to retire. Because I was going to wait until December, the end of the year, and all of a sudden came September, and I said, that's it, I've had it. I'm leaving now. So you know when it's time. You
That's
know
what I
when it's
tell
time. But you
everybody.
have to leave yourself enough time to be able to enjoy your life as a retiree.
Yes.
You know,
Yep. That's the key.
that's it.
So what have you been doing? So we'll get into the pensioners, but what have you been doing since you retired? Just for fun or personal?
Oh, well, let's see. I've joined the Sunshine Club that's in Wilmington, out of the VFW Hall in Wilmington. I go to my pension meetings, once a month there at the hall. I bowled, so I was always on the bowling league. So you got to stay busy. You got to stay busy.
And you said you've traveled to, I know that you said you visited your sister.
Yeah, and I traveled a lot. I traveled to Europe. I've traveled to Costa Rica. I've gone to Israel, China, Japan, so you just get in there and start doing.
You go, girl.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you go with a group or?
I usually go with a group. I feel safer when I'm with a group and we're with a tour guide. I feel safe like that.
Has it felt safe, all the places that you
Yes.
visited?
Yeah, even Israel, even though I went probably about, that's probably been 10, 15 years, I was kind of afraid of going to Israel because you hear about the young soldiers that are carrying their guns and all that, but they told us, well, they're there to protect you. Okay. So, but it turned out to be a very nice, very, very nice, I went with a bishop there, so it was really, really a good experience
Nice.
religiously. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, you're living your best
Oh,
life.
I am.
What's the Sunshine Club?
Oh, the Sunshine Club is a senior citizen club. We're housed out of the VFW, but we're independent from them. And we meet once a month, and we take local tours, local field trips, if you want to say field trips. And once a year, we'll take a big trip like back east or Nashville, Tennessee, or, something like that. Once a year, a big trip. Otherwise, we're going like museums and casinos and, just to get out and
Is
go
it
do
all
something.
women?
No, it's all mixed, men and women.
Oh, cool.
Majority
Okay.
is probably women,
Are they people that you grew up with? Because you grew up here in Wilmington, didn't you?
I grew up in Wilmington, and there's a lot of people that I know from way back and on the east side of Wilmington, yes. And then every other Tuesday when we don't have a meeting, we meet again at the VFW, and we make blankets for wounded soldiers. It's the tie kind of blanket, you cut your material and then you tie them. And we were sending them over to Germany, to the hospital that they go first to Germany when they're wounded, and then they come to the States. But after COVID, we lost some people because we're doing it with a different, like Torrance, there's a group in Torrance that does it, and we do it, and when COVID hit and we went back, the other groups didn't get back together. We were the only ones. Mm-hmm. So we're still doing them, but we're now giving them to the VA hospitals locally. And they really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
They really appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's so nice that you're so involved. Dad, do you think you would join something
I
like
would-
that?
I would do something
I
like
could
that.
totally see you doing that.
Yes,
Oh,
I would do
yeah.
something like that. It seems like a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, it is. Just getting together with people, just getting out of the house. Sometimes you don't feel like getting up out of bed and getting ready and go. But if you make yourself, once you're there, you're fine. You're happy. It's exciting.
People out there listening to Yoli, they should use her as an example. Have something planned when you retire, because there's a lot of guys and girls that retire and they don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So everybody listening, take it up from Yoli, join a club, do something.
And you know what? My husband and I, Beavis, we used to bowl all the time. And after he passed away, I continued. But then when I retired, I didn't want to do it at nighttime. So I just went to the bowling alley and told them I want to join a league. And they showed me who to join, and I joined a league. But so you have to be aggressive of what you want to do and go for it.
I feel like that's your personality, Yoli. You just were like, I guess I'll be a longshoreman. I guess I'll join this club. Like, you're just got that.
Yeah.
Right, I guess I'll drive this top handle. I guess I'm going to do that.
I guess I got some bananas. I don't know.
Yeah. And you know what else keeps me active right now? My grandkids. They're all athletic.
Super athletes.
Oh, yeah. They go to different schools. I always make sure I'm at their game or what have you. I have wrestlers. I have football players. I have softball players. I have volleyball players. And it's funny because I started off with Banning first. Then I have another grandchild that plays football over in Carson. So they had to get me Carson's shirt. Then some of them graduated, went on to Cerritos College, so football. So then I had to get a Cerritos outfit. Then my great-grandkids, I have two of them that go to Wilson High School. So they said, well, Grandma, we got to buy you that outfit. So when I'm going somewhere, I tell them, okay, what school am I going to now so that I know which outfit to wear?
Grandkids are the best,
Oh,
right?
yeah, they are.
Yeah, Marina's blessed me with two.
I know.
Boy and girl, and they're both athletic, and
Good.
they keep me going.
Oh, yeah.
I love to go to their
yeah.
games.
Oh, yeah.
Have I missed a game? Maybe once. Huh? No,
Yeah,
I want to be there.
I want them to remember me that my grandma was at all my games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know my mom says that, your children, she got teary-eyed when she told me. She says, your children are the rainbow and your grandchildren are the pot of gold at the end.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so I thought,
That is
oh, that's
nice.
I don't know where she heard that, but I was like, oh, that's a sweet analogy.
that
She
is
even
nice.
got teary-eyed when she told me. I'm like, Mom, are you
good.
crying?
Oh, yes.
But I
yes,
guess
yes.
you just really feel it when you have your
Oh, yeah.
grandchildren. How funny. I just imagine you have sweaters in the back of your
God.
car and you're just
Which
like,
one?
which one?
Always chairs. There's always chairs
Yeah.
in the back of my car.
Yeah, I got my dad a rocker chair for
Oh,
Christmas. So
yeah.
you like upgrade.
Right,
Got-
upgrade. Thank
next
you.
is the heater,
Yes.
Dad. Got to get you
Oh,
a
yeah.
heated vest.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But grandkids are the best. Yeah,
Yes,
they are.
they are.
So tell us about the pensioners. What do you do with the pensioners? What is the pensioners? What's your role? All
Okay.
that.
Our ILW pensioners locally here, I'm the recording secretary there, and I've been that for maybe 5-6 years. And it's any ILW locals that have retired are welcome. So it could be the office workers, it could be the guards, it could be, whoever is the ILWU, the IMBO voters anyways.
right.
And anyone who is ILW is welcome to join it. And we meet once a month. It's on Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of each month. They provide lunch for us. The Women's Auxiliary will cook lunch, a homemade lunch for us. And it's free. So we go, we eat, and then we have our meeting. And that's the first Wednesday of every month.
So what type of things are discussed?
Well, mostly our president will let us know what's happening in the ports, what's happening with the tariffs, what's happening with what's changing, what's like that. So that's what he kind of does. And then we have Sam Alvarado that comes to our meetings, and he'll let us know any changes or what's happening with our health benefits also. So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's very informative.
When you retire, how does the health benefits work after you retire? I know the ILW still has, you still have insurance with the ILW,
Yes,
but
you do.
then it goes into Medicare, or
Yeah.
how does that work?
Medicare is your number one health benefit.
Okay.
So what Medicare does not pay, then the ILW coastwise will pay. So that's how that works.
Okay. Now, Social Security, when you get Social Security, don't they take Medicare out of that, and then the union reimburses
Yes,
us?
they do. And a lot of how much you pay into your Medicare,
Okay.
what they charge you, let's say, it depends on your income the previous year. That's how the Medicare looks at it. They look at your income taxes, they find out what your income was, and that's how they adjust. So every person can be different
Right.
on how much they take out of you. And that's what the amount that the Longshore will give you back.
Right. Did you know that, Rena?
Yeah.
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 I feel like I'm a long way off, so it's like for me, it's not as relevant. But I can see for you that this is
Before
valuable,
you know,
very
before
valuable
you know
information.
it,
That's right.
Before you know it, you're going to be retiring. That's why
Yes.
sometimes I tell all these guys, they want all the money. They want the money.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no. Get a better pension. That's what you want to work for. Get a better pension.
Yeah.
So, we make good wages right now. So, I mean, you could sacrifice right now to get paid at the back end.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. And not only your 401k, right now I'm with Inez because Inez is 53 years old. And I keep telling her, put more in there and check it out and whatever, because before you know it, she'll be retiring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple dollars. I think I do like $1 or $2. I should definitely increase. I should definitely increase
Increase
that.
it. When we get off the podcast, go increase it.
Yeah.
I told this one guy years ago when he first got in, I forgot his name. I said, hey, put some money in the 401k. I just saw him a few months ago. He goes, you know what? Thank you for telling me that. He goes, because I got a lot of money in it.
yeah.
I go, well, why don't you give me some of that
Yeah,
money?
right.
But I'm glad that he took my advice.
Yeah.
And I hope that people listening right now feed into
It's
that 401k. It's very important. And
Yes,
Yoli,
it is.
you can.
It's important.
Yes.
So with the pensioners, is it called pensioners or pensioners? I feel like I'm. It does not matter.
Pensioners.
Pensioners. Do you host events too?
Yes, we do. You know what? Our local also, we sponsor, the Labor Day, I think it's sliding. The Labor Day parade. We provide breakfast And if you've ever been to a Labor Day parade, you'll see there's a lot of locals that come. We're one of the biggest in the West Coast to have a Labor Day parade.
Where's the parade?
Right down, well, it's the breakfasts are always served at the big hall on C Street, the
Okay.
Memorial Hall. And then after that, they go over to, I think it's Broad and, is it D maybe? And that's where the parade starts. Banning's band's there, Carson's band's there, San Pedro's band's there. All these bands are there, and all these very many locals are there with a parade for the parade. So it starts there, it goes all the way down Avalon, and turns into M Street. The park is full with people, free food, free entertainment, free. You have to listen to some politicians maybe, but yeah, it's a big parade. Well, like I said, it's one of the biggest in the West Coast.
Right.
okay.
A few
Yeah.
years ago, Jesse Jackson was there. Yeah, they like he said,
Yeah.
a lot of politician guys there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Right.
I don't remember that parade. I know that there's always, I think I know the 4th of, maybe
Christmas.
the 4th of July, Christmas. Yeah, okay.
And Bloody Thursday.
Right.
And Bloody
And Bloody
Thursday,
Thursday,
yeah, for sure.
And then another thing that our local also does is we help out with the Christmas donations for, the children. Thanksgiving, we help sponsor some of that. We sponsor some of the Boys and Girls Clubs too, giving them contributions and all. And we're very active.
How many, sorry, Dad, about how many members do you
Oh, gee
think?
whiz, you know what? I'm not sure. I know we have a lot signed up, but not everybody comes to the meetings.
Sure.
Yo, do you guys pay dues? I mean,
Yeah, we do. In fact, it used to be only $20 a year. Well, they brought it up to $40, so now it's $40 a year.
Yeah.
But $40, you
Yes.
get a free homemade lunch every time you go for the meeting. We have in October it's a very good. For all, and we get a lot of the pensioners that come for that. It's our barbecue steak prime rib dinner.
Ooh.
And it's free for all the members and their spouses. And it's held at the Memorial Hall. And there's a lot of people that show up for that. And that's free for them because we put the money in for that.
nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of things for pensioners.
Yeah, that's great. So I haven't been involved, but that's something that I would like to do is be involved more in like the union and that kind of stuff. Were you involved when you were in could I volunteer to set up
Oh,
are
yeah.
you guys accepting volunteers that are non-retirees?
Oh, yeah. Especially during the Christmas time and during the Thanksgiving giveaway things. Yeah. But yeah, you can volunteer for things. It's funny because I was not involved in anything. My husband was, but I was not involved while I was working. But now I find myself more involved in that. And then I'm part of the Pacific Coast Pensioners Club Association, and that starts all the way from Alaska to Canada, and it takes all the West Coast ports. So I'm recording secretary for that too. It's like the international, only we're called the Pacific
awesome.
Coast Pensioners
That's
Association.
awesome.
So what do you? Yeah, tell me about that. How is?
Oh, okay.
What do you? What happened? What's that? What's that like? What do you guys discuss? Because that's the
Yeah.
whole.
Well,
West Coast.
once a year we have a pensioners convention, and it moves around. 1 year we had it here in Long Beach. Another time we're going to have one in September in San Francisco. We have it in Vancouver, British Columbia, and Canada. San Francisco, I said that, and one more port it is, Portland. So they sponsor it, and everybody goes there, and it's a 3-day affair. And they talk about pensions, they talk about benefits, and things like that, what's going on throughout the Longshore Division. And they'll take the hosting party will have like a boat ride with a luncheon on the boat ride, cruise around the harbor, or they'll do something for us, and then we'll have a nice dinner dance, and all we ever have to pay is $40 for registration, and that's it. I mean, you can't beat being part of the pensioners.
No.
Yeah, and then our executive board, we meet twice a year. In fact, this weekend, I just came back from San Francisco for our executive board meeting. And And that's where we kind of plan again. Each port will tell what's happening in their port, what their manpower is, how many A books, B books, casuals, what's going on with them and what's going on with their pension club there. So it's interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's what I mean about staying busy.
Right.
Yes, you definitely stay
Yeah.
busy.
Right. The union gave you everything. Now it looks like you're paying everything back.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody
Oh,
should,
yeah.
look at that.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Longshore was and clerking has been great for you.
Yes,
Now
yes.
you're giving everything
Oh,
back.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Especially after my husband passed away, I was really, really thankful for my job.
Oh, yeah.
That I could continue with the kids and all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dad, were you involved while you were maybe 13?
When I was in 13, I was in the executive board, and I was on the registration committee. Yeah, those are the two committees that I was on.
Okay.
I was in there with some big heavyweights. When I got in 1982, we had like Lou Loveridge, Art Almeida, some big heavy hitters,
Yes.
the Saucedo guys.
Yes.
Yoli knows I'm throwing
Yeah,
out names.
yeah.
These
I
guys
do
were
know
real
them.
influential
Yes.
in this union. They were strong guys. They knew Harry Bridges real well.
Oh, yeah.
I tell her all the time that I wish my only regret down here is not meeting Harry Bridges. I could have a couple times when he was down here, but I just didn't do it.
But we saw him. We heard him speak and all that. Yeah.
Oh, Yoli, I'm envious, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were you booing? We heard that some of the
no.
LA Long Beach. I just asked
Yeah.
because so we just interviewed Conrad Guzman and
Joe Udeback.
Joe Udeback. And they were, so my dad asked that story about when Harry Bridges came down here. What was the reception like? And was it true that he was booed when they were talking about one of the contracts?
Yeah.
And Conrad said, yep, that actually
Oh, I don't remember
was true.
Yeah.
So I was just joking when I
Yeah.
asked if you were one of the booers. But that's cool that you got to
Yeah.
hear him speak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
That's
it
great.
is.
That's great. Yeah. Uncle Harry.
Uncle
Yeah.
Harry for sure. All right, Yoli. Well, do you have anything else that you want to add?
Not that I can think of. I think I've talked a lot.
No, you covered all the bases,
Yeah.
and everything you said today is real informative to everybody here. They
Good.
should, get involved with the union.
Yes.
They have to get involved with the union.
Yeah.
Keep this union strong.
Yeah.
And
Because if you talk to a lot of the old timers, they'll tell you there's a big change in the longshore division. It just there's a change in the people that are in now compared to what it used to be.
oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
For sure.
But I feel like getting involved and people hopefully that are listening or would be influenced to get involved because that builds ties. You build personal relationships and then a connection to the union and what you're doing and your job. What if I wanted to volunteer for the Thanksgiving? How do I do I go on ILWpensioners.com? What do I do? Where do I go?
It really we help by donating money, but there is a committee, a longshore committee, and if you're really interested, I'll find the name out for you that you can call them and say, okay, when are you having it and when can I come down? Because there's a lot of people that go for that to help.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely interested in that for sure. Like, especially like if it's just an event that I can,
Yeah.
because I have kids, so I can't donate too much of my time. But if it was an event that I was help preparing for, I'm definitely into that.
Yeah, I was very proud of my kids and my grandkids because when they had the fire over in Maui and how they were donating things and loading up containers to send over there, my kids were there helping, which I was very proud of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. That's great. Well, they're Hawaiian. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to include that in the show notes. Maybe you give me a phone number and then I'll include it. That way, if anybody
Okay.
listening is interested,
Yes.
then they'll be able to connect to somebody and what you guys are doing. Maybe we can get some volunteers down there.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Yoli,
Oh,
for
you're
coming and
welcome.
sharing. I really appreciate it. That was kind of you. You did mention that you were a little hesitant just, to come on.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that you
Thank you.
that you have, you have respect for us and we have respect for you
Right,
and that you are here
right.
for us. Like I really feel the love. So thank
Thank you. Yeah, I told my daughter Becky, I said, you know what? Because it's Marina and Eddie, I will go.
Thank
Because
you.
back in the day when the women first came down, newspapers and reporters and everybody wanted to interview them. And I didn't want to be interviewed because they always were, misquoted, or somebody didn't like what they said.
They always twist the story,
Yes,
right?
so I thought, I don't know, I was a little bit hesitant, but my family said, Mom, it's Marina and Eddie, okay.
Yeah, we're going to go easy on you. Well, I mean, we're just here for some information and to learn about your story, because this is something that's recorded on audio, so it'll be here forever for people to know your story of how you got started and your bravery to just join, just your enthusiasm to say, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me and asking me.
Of course. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to On the Waterfront with Coach.
And for more content, you can follow us on our Instagram page, On the Waterfront Pod, and you can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
We'd appreciate if you subscribe and follow.
And thank you lastly to our partners at the Arts and Cultural Alliance for letting us use their beautiful building.
Thank you, Uncle Harry.